Hi guys! Sorry to come on so late. I know I didn't really specify a time, but I'm here, I'm live, and I am doing this in the moment to share with you the recipe that I said I would share from yesterday. I made this chicken stir fry with homemade sauce yesterday, and we went ahead and actually cooked all of the chicken, so that's already done. But the batch of sauce that I made, again, since it was my first time doing it that time, I just made enough for what we needed that night, last night. So I'm going to just basically, I only used half of the vegetables, so and we ate it all yesterday. So I am just cooking the rest of the vegetables, getting them warmed up, and then I'm going to make the sauce with you. So, waiting just a few seconds, not even minutes, in case anybody is going to jump on live to ask questions or chit-chat, whatever. But I'm going to jump into making this sauce with you. So if you want to grab a pen and piece of paper, if you're watching this replay, to kind of write down what you need to have. And to be honest, I kind of wing it on some things, but I'm going to try to give you best measurements that I think match what I put in it. So again, we've already cooked the chicken. You can put as much chicken in as you want, but that's what we've already cooked and diced up from yesterday. I will throw that in here in just a second. So before I get to the sauce, the easiest part of this, for one, to save yourself some time, because I know a lot of you guys are busy. You're trying to get things done, trying to put healthy meals on the table without spending too much time, cutting up vegetables and all that jazz. So the most you'll have to do probably is to just cut up the chicken breast into chunks, bite-sized chunks. But do yourself a favor. I do like fresh produce, but even for this particular meal, I did frozen vegetables. So just make sure whenever you read the label, it's not the vegetables that are like in a sauce, like a butter sauce or a garlic sauce. It's just the frozen vegetables. So I did broccoli, sliced carrots, and snap peas. That's the vegetables I used. And then I cut up half of a purple banana. Wouldn't that be nice in a stir fry? I don't know where that came from. Onion, I guess because the bananas are sitting right there. Maybe that's why. But purple onion, half of that, or even a whole one if you're making the full batch, because technically I'm making half of this. So I used half of the onion last night and the other half I'll use tonight. So I used about half of the bag for the batch that we ate last night of each of the vegetable items. Just about, maybe a little bit less of the carrots because there's a lot in that bag. But really you can use however much you want. And then what else? So that covers the vegetables. I like to cut it, this one we kind of cut it in strips because I wasn't intentionally planning on making this a separate meal the second night. So I do like to cut the onions into like those big chunks that are kind of like what you would use for grilling or like kebabs. So let's dive into this sauce. And again, the chicken, you literally can just season it with some Himalayan salt and some crushed black pepper. That's really all you need. You're going to cook that first before you add in the vegetables. So you're going to cook the chicken, and then as it's like almost done, so not completely done, that's when you want to add in your frozen vegetables. And once all that's cooking down, that's when you can start to make your sauce. So here we go. We're going to go with half a cup. And again, you're going to probably want to double this if you're making a bigger batch. So I'm doing half a cup of organic, low sodium chicken broth. So it's just the Organics brand. Set that aside so I don't use it again. I don't know if you can see it, just organic chicken broth, half cup of that. You can do the same thing with the coconut aminos. So coconut aminos is basically just like a soy sauce, but better for you. It's obviously not soy based, and I actually believe it's quite a bit lower in sodium. None of that MSG nonsense, gluten-free, all that good stuff, and it's 100% organic. Takes a little bit to come out of the bottle. I'll show you it in just a second, but I'm doing half a cup of that in my little mixing bowl. You kind of have to tilt the bottle back and forth to get it to finally all come out. So wait for it, wait for it. This bottle's actually gone, so I got back up. All right. So again, half cup of the organic, low sodium chicken broth. Oh my goodness, it's taking a long time to come out. Okay, and then half a cup of the coconut aminos, and I don't know if I know it's kind of backwards looking at the camera this way, So if you have questions about it and need me to flip the camera around, let me know. Next, I did about 1 tablespoon, where's my measurement, of sesame oil. So I'm measuring that in, boop, boop, boop. Good old sesame oil just gives it that nice stir-fry flavor that you like. So just regular sesame oil, okay? I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of raw honey. Put that in, that's your sweetness. Of course, if you like it a little bit more sweet, you can do that. I just wanted this particular recipe to be a little bit more savory than sweet. So, I mean, really to me, the 1 tablespoon of honey is all you need. But just a nice natural, unfiltered raw honey. The darker, the better. And then let's move on to the garlic. Gotta keep my teaspoon measuring spoons. Don't want to burn up these vegetables. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it down for a second. And move it this way. All right, so let's get into the garlic. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon. I keep stepping out of the frame. I apologize. I got my seasonings on the other side. So I'm actually gonna do 2 teaspoons, roughly, of garlic powder. Just regular old garlic powder, easy peasy. And then about a teaspoon of minced garlic. So you can either do the freeze-dried or you can do the one that comes in a jar, kind of already pre-minced. Just make sure, again, you read the ingredients. The Organics, the O Organics brand usually does a pretty good job with their products about not adding in a bunch of extra crap. So that's actually what we have. We typically usually get the freeze-dried and then just rehydrate it, if you will, to activate it again. But they didn't have any, so that's our backup. Okay, moving on. So the onion powder is kind of where I just eyeball it, but there's onion powder in it. So I literally just shake a little bit on top. Helps give it that savoriness that I like. So if I had to give you an estimate on that, maybe like a ½ teaspoon of onion powder. And then I'm using crushed red pepper. Again, I just do a 1/4 of a teaspoon of that, depending on how spicy you like it. So that's about how much I use in that. Next is rice vinegar. If you have, what's it called? Rice wine would be a little bit better, but I didn't, this is what I had on hand, so I'm like, boop, I'm gonna use it. So, boop, I'm gonna use it. So 1 tablespoon of that. Again, it's just, I just use regular rice vinegar. Rice wine, you can use either one. And we're almost out of ground ginger, so I'm actually gonna use the whole thing. Sometimes I like more of a ginger flavor and sometimes I really don't. So, but maybe about a teaspoon of that. And if you like it to be more gingery, then you can add more, but I just didn't want it. Ginger can be very overpowering, so I didn't want that to over flavor my stir fry. So, and then I'm doing ground black pepper, just turn it in. So again, that I'm just kind of eyeballing, but if I had to specify, then I would say probably about another ½ teaspoon of the black pepper. And I think I've got everything. So what you do from there, you're gonna whisk that up. Okay, so again, just a quick run through. I've got ½ cup chicken broth, ½ cup of coconut aminos, 1 tablespoon of raw, local, unfiltered honey, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of just minced garlic. What else? About a 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, ½ teaspoon of ground black pepper, ½ teaspoon or so of the ground ginger, 1 tablespoon of the rice vinegar or rice wine, and to your liking, maybe about a ½ teaspoon of the onion powder. So that's really all you need for the sauce itself, but you are also going to need, 1 tablespoon of the sesame oil. I almost left that out. I think that covers everything. I have it all still sitting out on the counter, so I'm making sure I don't miss anything for you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in so this stuff stays good and moist, but I will say, because you want, okay, here's the game changer. If you want it to thicken up and not be runny, most recipes will call for cornstarch, but it's just not the best quality thickener to use. So what we like to turn to instead is either a tapioca starch, or in this case what we typically have on hand is the arrowroot powder. So it's just a root vegetable, but it acts in the same way as what like a cornstarch would to thicken up your sauces. So I just added a tablespoon of that, and I'll probably add 1 more tablespoon once I get it all stirred up in the pot or in the pan, because the heat itself will help to kind of activate that and thicken things up. So pulling it back on the pan, you can kind of see it. I'm just gonna drizzle all that on there. Cover everything really good. And then stir it around. But seriously, that was super easy. And I know it seemed like maybe it was a little bit longer, but I'm doing this all live with you. So if you're still hanging with me, it didn't take very long, right? So once I've got it all in here, I'm just gonna turn that heat up pretty high to get it to a boil. And then once it does, I'll turn it down just to kind of simmer it, put the lid on, and add that second tablespoon of the arrowroot powder or arrowroot starch, the same kind of thing. So I'm gonna turn it around so you can kind of see what it looks like. And again, it's still gonna be kind of watery right now because I don't have it. Actually, I need to turn it back up, I guess. It hasn't started to boil yet. So let me turn you. This is all the vegetables. This is how it will look. Again, we will normally dice those onions up quite a bit thicker than that, but they were already diced up for salads and stuff, and I just wanted to throw it in. So that's what it will look like. Yes, it will be a little bit runny like that at first, but as you saw in the picture that I shared the other day, it will thicken up as it gets hot and as that arrowroot powder kicks in. So I really hope that was helpful. I'm always trying to experiment with things to make healthier alternatives to comfort foods and just stuff like this, like, because everybody likes a good sauce. So whether it's like an Alfredo sauce, like a creamy sauce for pastas and stuff like that, or like a stir-fry sauce that a lot of recipes tend to throw in, you know, extra brown sugar. Some of them I even saw were like adding in barbecue sauce and, you know, this high sodium soy sauce and just different kinds of stuff that's really unnecessary when you can have healthy ingredients and minimal ingredients and still have it taste just as good, if not better, making it yourself home. It's fresh, you're not buying it off the shelf with a bunch of preservatives and added stuff in it that your body's like, I don't even know what the hell that is. So make it at home. It doesn't take long. As you can see, it's super easy, and it actually does taste good. So if you have any other questions about, you know, stuff that you're curious about, if I've tried, or if there's something in particular you're like, hey, can you touch on a little bit of this? I've tried it, I'm not sure how to cook it, or I want to make this kind of whatever it is, the recipe, and you want some tips on it, let me know, and I'll be sure to add it to my list of things that I want to share with you guys. So that's it. I'm hopping off. I'm going to let this finish, and then I'm going to grub. Y'all have a good Wednesday night. Bye, guys.